What's up, everyone? It's the OOTP GM, and this is the 32nd episode of my Detroit Tigers GM Let's Play here on Hunter Park Baseball 18. So I'm back for the second part of the 2022 off-season, and as you can see, we've moved ahead to the Rule 5 draft. I did a bunch of stuff off-screen to try and streamline this episode. I'm going to actually condense it even more. I'll talk about that in a second. But first off, I want to show you guys what happened. So we ended up signing Gary DiSarcina. I butchered his name, I think, in the last episode. So Gary DiSarcina will be our new bench coach. We signed him to, I believe it was a 2-year contract. The reason I signed him is he's actually like a really hot name in real life for managerial position. He was with the Boston Red Sox this year. I forget who he was with prior to that, but I know he was like a shortstop in the majors and so on and so forth. But his strategy is almost exactly identical in terms of his roster strategy. Is almost exactly identical to what Ryan Sandberg does. So if Sandberg decides to retire, it's not much of a loss if we employ DiSarcina. And he has pretty good relationships with everybody. Not a great relationship with pitchers, which is the same problem with Sandberg. But I decided to get DiSarcina because of the overall strategy. And the other part of it is I was considering signing a guy like Brian Price, the former Cincinnati Reds manager, but he's like the other extreme. He has a great relationship with pitchers, but all of the position players have a bad relationship with him, so I didn't want to go that far to the extreme. So that's why I went with DiSarcina. And in terms of free agents, we offered 2 contracts to 2 free agent pitchers. Ian Kroll, who is a former Tiger, I believe, and a left-handed reliever. He's been pretty good with Atlanta the last couple of seasons, so I'm trying to get another lefty into the pen. And then we offered a 1-year deal to James Paxton, who is a left-handed starting pitcher. He was used out of the bullpen last year. He's actually been used out of the bullpen 2 of the last 3 years instead of as a starter. And he's actually been better as a bullpen guy than as a starter. But I wanted to bring him in because he's a little bit less expensive, and really I just want to have a lefty in the starting rotation. And Duffy's price tag is a little high for me at this point. So, but that's what we're at right there. And then in terms of the Rule 5 draft, which I'll get into now, we did put a couple of guys on the Rule 5 or on the Major League roster, the 40-man roster rather. We put Stephen Young on there because his numbers have really shot up, and he's probably going to be on our Major League roster pretty soon. We'll have to find a place for him. He might take Almora's position, even though his defensive ratings aren't all that good. He's a really good hitter, and I think his ratings will go up because he has decent ratings here. So I think his position ratings could go up, but he does play all 3 positions, which is important. We also added Zach Watson. He's a kind of a utility player. The only thing that's bad about him is his personality, so we'll have to kind of wait and see on him. And then I already added Kanan Smith. So those are the guys that we added for protection. I looked through the Rule 5 draft players, and there is absolutely nobody that I'm going to add, unless there's somebody that got added the last minute that I don't see. There is nobody that I'm going to add at this point, and I'll explain that in a second. So as you can see, there's a lot of really good outfielders, but they all are in low A, rookie ball. We don't need a 3-star guy. Even, he's 28 years old, and we don't need a guy like this for our team. Either one of these guys we don't really need because we have players for those positions. I would be looking for pitchers. Tyler Danish, double A, 28 years old, not really looking for that. And then this Jerry Campbell's interesting. He's 26 years old, but he's only in high A, which kind of worries me a little bit. Plus, he's a righty. He's not a lefty. So you have to go quite a ways down if you're looking for like a lefty reliever. You have to go all the way down here to Ryan Carpenter. And obviously, we can get Ian Kroll in free agency. So we're going to do that. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to complete the draft. I'm not even going to ask for any sort of recommendations because I don't plan on signing anybody or picking anybody. So we're just going to skip forward one day here real quick. And what I'm going to do to streamline this episode and to try to make it a little bit smoother is I am going to skip forward. Instead of starting and stopping like I've done in the past every single time we get a personal message or to stop and do like the Hall of Fame voting results, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move forward all the way to the start of the regular season And I'm just going to go back and do everything for you guys in one fell swoop. I'll show you guys the Hall of Fame voting results. I will go over our roster. I'll go over how we did in spring training. I will do all of that at once at the very beginning of next season rather than starting and stopping. Because one, it'll make editing a lot easier for me. But two, I think it's going to help to streamline this episode so it won't be nearly as long. Because that's been the problem with some of the episodes in the past, is that I've had to start and stop so many times that it kind of lengthens the episode. And I have a tendency to ramble, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop here, and the next time that I will pop in will be at the very beginning of the season, and I will go through all of the stuff here that we haven't gone over yet. So I will see you guys at the beginning of the 2023 regular season. All right, so we are back here at the opening day of the 2023 baseball season, and I'm going to run through some of the stuff that we missed earlier in the off season and show you guys what was going on. So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys is all the way back here, the Hall of Fame voting results. So Mike Mussina and Roy Halladay both got elected to the Hall of Fame. Mussina in his 10th and final year gets 82.1%. Roy Halladay, 78.6% his fifth year. Shockingly, Ichiro Suzuki was not a first ballot Hall of Famer, only 69.5 in his first year. As you can see, Jeff Kent dropped off in his 10th and final year. And a lot of the other guys we've been voting for are not making a lot of gains. Rollins only at 28.8. Hudson only at 13.7. So chances are pretty excellent that some of those guys are never going to get in. But I am glad to see Mussina climb up and Roy Halladay both get in. So those are the Hall of Fame voting results. And then in terms of our team, so both Ian Kroll and James Paxton signed with us during the offseason. They're both on our roster. Both had pretty good spring trainings. These are the spring training stats. Paxton, they kind of used him as both a starter and as a reliever, kind of tried him out both ways. Ended up having a 3.38 ERA total in terms of all of his appearances. So Paxton was really good, so he's our fifth starter going into the season. And then we obviously still have Fulmer, Buehler, Faedo, and Burrows. Burrows actually has dropped down to the number 4 starter this year, which is interesting. It might have something to do with ratings, but regardless, I'm still really happy with everybody that we have. They all had excellent springs. Buehler actually had a .95 FIP in the spring, which is excellent. And then we have 3 new additions to our bullpen this year. We have Mark Ecker, Ian Kroll, and John Schreiber. Schreiber and Ecker were guys that were in our minor league system, and they've made brief appearances over the years in the majors, but they've never stuck, so we're giving them a chance this year. Both of them had really excellent springs. And then Ian Kroll, obviously we signed to be a lefty out of the bullpen, so we're happy to have him on the team as well. No major lineup changes other than the fact that Ronaldo Rivera is slated to start the year as our starter at first base, replacing Vasquez. He did have a better spring than Vasquez. He crushed it in the spring, hitting .355, but they're swapping every 4th game, and Vasquez also down here. I know it's blocked by my timer here, but Vasquez also swapping in with Stewart in terms of the DH spot. And also, as you can see, Rivera is slated to start regardless of any position, but I think ultimately it's going to be good to have them swapping out spots. So that's the only real change. Everything else is the same. We still have Almora as our outfielder. Pippi obviously is our infield guy this year, and then Cross is our new backup catcher. So in terms of spring, we were the best team in spring training. We went 21-7. The Cardinals and Mariners also had pretty good springs. Mets not too far behind as well. No sort of like eye-popping stats to take a look at. I already showed you guys some of the stats there. But and then in terms of preseason predictions, we're predicted for 95 wins this year, so a little bit more modest than it's been in previous years, but I am happy to see still predicted at a pretty good team pitching-wise. So predicted to win the American League Central again. And then in terms of top 10 hitters, Harper on the list again, projected to have a really nice year. And only Fulmer on the list this year for pitchers, but I'm okay with that. I like the rest of our team regardless. And then the Dodgers are projected to win 102 games, so they have the highest projection for wins for any team next year. So, like I said, I like our team going into the season. It's relatively the same. We obviously have some changes in the pitching staff, a little bit, some new guys in the bullpen, and just a couple of small changes in terms of the lineup, but pretty much the same team from last year going into this year. And then in terms of the top prospects, I don't believe we have any top 100 prospects again this year. I didn't peek at that, but I'm almost 100% certain we don't have any top 100 prospects again. Oh, we do actually. Yukhail Sisson breaks into the list at number 58. So he's a young starting pitching prospect that we're keeping our eye on. So he breaks in at number 58, but he's the only top 100 guy. Yeah, we have Jim Bland at 124, Josh Hamilton at 135. Ronaldo Rivera still qualifies for prospect status. He won't for very much longer. He's at 160, and then Stephen Young is at 187. So only one top 100 guy, this Yukhail Sisson, but he's slowly working his way up through the system. Has done pretty well so far. And then in terms of our top prospects, let's see, all players. I actually don't think, for whatever reason, Sisson is not on the list. I need to add him real quick. Sometimes, for whatever reason, when I'll draft guys, I'll forget to add them to the list. Oh, one quick thing. I'm kind of scatterbrained here. We made a trade during spring training. We made a trade, and we traded away. Let's go into. Here we go. So we made a trade. We traded away Bautista, who was in our bullpen the last couple of years. He's listed as a starting pitcher, but he wasn't, obviously. We traded him away along with this low-level catching prospect to the Tampa Bay Rays for Regan Todd and this starting pitching prospect. Todd is another really good first base prospect. I couldn't pass up adding another first baseman just in case we need him for any reason. I couldn't pass adding him because he has such great potential. And Bautista, as good as he's been for us in previous years, with new guys coming up, he kind of lost his spot and for whatever reason, Sandberg was really intent on making him a starting pitcher this year, so ultimately that's why I decided to move him, and we need to change this over to Head Scout. There we go. Alright, so one of the things that I do need to do here is go through Sisson. We need to add to the top no. Add to top prospects. There we go. And then this beta we need to add as well. Add to top prospects. And then we need to disable AI promotion, and we need to disable AI promotion for him. So a lot of these younger guys, I'll let the computer kind of handle it at first, but then when they start to make their way up through the system, I like to start taking care of it. Like with Bland for the time being, we're going to leave him alone because we don't really need a first baseman, so I'm kind of letting him handle it. Oh, this Aldridge, we can remove him. His ratings are just awful. Alright, so that's what I like to do. I like to let the computer handle it for a time. But as you can see, this Beta and Sisson are both working their way up through the system. Now, Sisson only pitched 24 innings at high A last year, so we're going to leave him there for the time being. And Beta was in Connecticut last year, so he's moved up to here as well. So we're leaving these two guys here for the time being. But anyways, I'll get back into the other members of our short list here. Top prospects, all players. Okay, so some of these guys have moved up, and some guys have kind of stayed the same. This Deegan Genie, I'm sure I'm butchering that. We moved him up to Double-A because he's pitched pretty well in the minors so far, hoping that he can move up quickly and become part of our bullpen. And then this Todd, we assigned him to Triple-A in the trade. We just talked about these two guys. Cross, obviously, on the Major League roster. And then Dan Franks, we're leaving him in Double-A for the time being. He only pitched 18 innings there last year, and we want to give him some more time. Brady Scott, we're moving to Triple-A. He's had 2 straight years in Double-A. I thought it was time to move him up. Rodriguez, 261 in 98 games at High A. I kind of want to start him there at the beginning of the year and see how he does before looking to move him up. Smith and Young are both in Triple-A, waiting their opportunity. Blake Beers is in Double-A still because he is continuing to struggle. And then a lot of these other guys are just low-level guys that at some point I might end up just removing them from this list and letting the computer handle it. But for the time being, we'll leave them there. For the time being, nothing really exciting going on here with these guys because their potential isn't all that great. So, but that's pretty much it for our team and season preview here for 2023. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Comments and feedback are always welcome. And I'll see you guys for the next episode, which will be the 2023 first year player draft. And also, real quick, guys, if you like this format where I kind of streamlined it all into just one at the end of the off season, let me know in the comments, and I will do that for not only future episodes of whatever remains of this series, but also any future series in the future. I might also try a streamlined version for the first year player draft and the the trade deadline and the international free agent signing period, maybe trying to streamline that all into one episode. I haven't made a decision yet, but I'll let you guys know when that does happen. But anyways, let me know what you think, and I can potentially do that for later episodes. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys for the next episode.